Good morning and welcome to our fifth and final session of Thrive. So, we've been doing these all month, and these sessions were really designed to guide and steer you to help you bring voice into your customers. The five sessions that we did are all recorded. They're going to be available on demand. You can go to our YouTube channel and see the first four. We'll also send you an email as follow up with the content and the links and the information, and we'll be posting them on our website. So you should be able to find them and have them at your fingertips. The sessions have really been designed to go together and focus on the entire customer lifespan in terms of your engagement from the beginning of attracting them to you and your organization to then interacting with them and telling them a little bit about you and your value proposition and why they should consider transacting with you and moving down the path to procure. And then we went into last week's session all around the importance of activating and getting your users using your solutions and the tools that go along with it. And today we'll be talking about the final pillar, which is attach. And attach is really about long term stickiness and long term customer relationships. And each week in these sessions, I bring in an expert from my team. And these are people that SIPPIO recruited from the industry based on their experiences, knowledge, success that they've had in their respective areas. And today I'm asking Eddie Chisholm to join me to discuss how to manage these attachments and upsells, as well as long term customer relationships. So, Eddie, why don't you hop on the stage with me? Hello.
Hey, Dumry.
Welcome and thanks for joining today. So, Eddie joined us from one of our premier partners in Canada. They do work throughout North America, and we specifically wanted to bring in Eddie because of his very successful track record in establishing customer relationships and long term customer relationships and making those successful with repetitive business. So, here at SIPPIO, he's really going to be focused on helping our partners and our carriers implement some of those different techniques so that they're using voice as a basis for everything else that they're doing in their business. Eddie didn't come to technology organically. He had another business that he bought and sold, and then found technology interesting and found somebody else on our team at a prior company that kind of gave him his first shot without experience. But I thought it was funny because Eddie's one of the first millennials that I know that works in the telco industry. And I think it's interesting because there's going to be more and more and more of them coming, and it's just a great time to join these type of industry solutions and be promoting them because telco is changing so rapidly. So Eddie, why don't you tell us what you're going to be talking about today with Attach? And I'm super excited to hear what you're going to teach us.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dumry, for all the lovely things that you just said. Feels good. Today, I'm going to be talking about, well, I'll preface everything by saying that I'm sure most of our partners are practicing a lot of the things that we'll be talking about today. But it's always good to get a little refresher. And if you leave with one nugget out of today's conversation, I think we'll deem that successful. So really, the talk track today is around the importance of building long-term customer relationships, maximizing repeat sales, and the significance of expanding the relationships to drive home customer loyalty as options, technologies, and the competitive landscape changes. So, I mean, maintaining a steady stream of customers and securing repeat business is essential for success, especially in today's day and age. However, it's equally as important to focus on deepening relationships with your base customers to create a sense of stickiness and loyalty. By
Well,
doing so,
the industry is pretty small, don't you think? I mean, the same people that I sell to today, I sold to at Avaya, I sold to at Microsoft, and then some of my customers are now partners. So it's really interesting that you need to think about that because it's not, a big world where people are mutually exclusive.
Well, it's that old saying of people do business with people, right, Don Marie? So you probably did a great job of managing expectations and doing things that you said you were going to do, and making sure that even if things weren't going well, that you managed that well with the customer. So again, people do business with people, so they followed you along to whatever role, and it goes the other way as well, right? In our world, we typically deal a lot with the IT organization, and obviously, like any other industry, they take vertical leaps and take bigger roles, and they're going to bring along people with them that they know are going to do a great job and help them look good. So
That's right.
yeah. So I broke in today's conversation really into three pillars. The first one, and where we're going to start, is the value of long-term customer relationships. Building long-term customer relationships goes beyond the one-time transaction or initial sale. um, like we just talked about, it's about creating that trust. It's about creating that rapport, and understanding with your customers. So by investing time and effort into these relationships, it's like any other relationship in your life, whether it's your wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or best friend. um, you're going to reap the rewards of that. um, and in the business world, the first aspect is repeat sales. um, Long-term customer relationships lead to repeat sales, which significantly account for a lot of revenue growth. It's much easier to do business with a firm that you know from all aspects. You know exactly what to expect from implementation, from a service side. Um, so it's hugely important. I think statistics show that it costs close to 5 times more to acquire a new customer than it does to retain existing ones. And that's kind of mind-boggling, that stat. Um, but it just really reiterates that nurturing loyal customers and cultivating repeat business is a smart financial decision. The second part of that is really the brand advocacy. Loyal customers become brand advocates, spreading positive word of mouth. Right? There's nothing in our industry that's better than a referral. Having that
Mhm.
warm introduction, having that come from a peer, typically, whether that's at some sort of technology conference or anything along those lines, any sort of networking event, being having that, we'll call it the warm introduction, is as powerful as a tool for sales as it can get.
Mhm.
um,
I'm
Bringing
smiling
in
because, sorry, I'm smiling because you just had one of those at an event that I was with you at a couple of weeks ago, and they called you legit.
that's right.
That was the best, like, praise you could get from anybody. They didn't even do a big long sentence or a big overview. They just said, "You're legit."
I
Mhm.
think it was we were legit, so you can take half the credit in that one. So yes, we are legit.
Mhm.
Yeah, and again, that's the best feeling you're ever going to get as a salesperson or any role, right? Getting that validation feels good for anybody at any point in time. But just very quickly, just to finish off the advocacy side, um, these brand advocates, they're powerful ambassadors. We want to build up as many of those people as we can, and it's only going to come back in tenfold. So it just reiterates that boosting of your brand's reputation and credibility. The last portion of this pillar would be the competitive advantage, right? So a strong relationship with your customers essentially acts as a bit of a wall between any new potential competitors. When we have an emotional connection and a positive history with a company or firm, um, they're far less likely to be swayed away by whatever the new latest and greatest marketing techniques or piece of technology or net new company. And we know that's what I love about this industry, right? Once we figure it all out, it all changes. So having that competitive advantage is absolutely massive. And this, I think, this Seth Godin quote is a perfect kind of summary, or he did a really good job of summarizing my thought process here. See the quote now. It's so much easier to talk about new products with a customer that knows your organization. Again, from a sales support perspective. Um, so I think this was a perfect way to kind of finish off this pillar.
And Seth is legit for sure.
Very legit. Yep, very legit. That brings us to the second pillar, the importance of repeat sales. We all know repeat sales are the lifeblood of any business, whatever industry vertical you're in. So just doing a couple high level strategies to maximize those repeat sales. Personalization is number one. Tailor the offerings and communications to match specific needs of your customer. Um, I think we all have this in our life where personalized experiences make us all feel valued and understood. Whether that's we get so much email marketing these days, and some of them do stand out from the crowd. And again, maybe Dummery led with I'm a millennial, but I'll say direct mail, right? Getting that custom direct mail from that realtor, whether you're interested in selling your house or buying a house or not, you always pick it up, and they've gone the extra mile. So it's a powerful way to reach an audience.
Yeah, I have a direct mail, I'd say, for like 20 years from the New Yorker magazine. They have those really funny like cartoons that they do, and they made one about me, and it said, um, "Hey, Don Marie, people everywhere are following you," or something. And I am a New York magazine subscriber, but I've just saved it ever since because you're right. People like to feel good that it's about them and not necessarily about you. So make it about them as much as possible.
Yeah. So there's a perfect cue for anybody on the call. Send Dawn Marie a custom mailer, and she might buy your stuff. The second pillar or second aspect of this pillar is really on the customer service side. It sounds very cliche. It sounds very, of course, this has to happen, but consistently deliver outstanding customer service. Not good, not great, outstanding. Um, this will foster loyalty. It's just a fact at this point. Everybody on this call probably knows and understand this, but um, responding quickly to inquiries, resolving issues efficiently, and really just going the extra mile to exceed the customer's expectations. And that can come in so many different forms and fashions, whether that's staying an extra 10 minutes late after a shift or something to make sure that the customer understands what cause or root of the problem was, helping them documenting um, you know what happened, why it happened, and how it can be avoided in the future. And I really want to just reiterate the operational service side, especially within our industry, probably sells just as much as any salesperson. They're the ones on site. They're the ones solving all these issues. When something does go wrong, whether it's a failed piece of hardware or something's not configured correctly from a software perspective, these are the people that correct all of this, and these are the people that the end customers who are managing these solutions from a day-to-day perspective know and trust. So it's really, really, really important, to really focus on that service and operational side. Um, Again, because they're going to be driving a ton of potential revenue, and eventually, of course, that gets flipped over to the sales team. But they are absolutely key in the discovery and identifying potential opportunity side of things.
Yeah, super good point.
Yep. And the third, of course, is going to be probably differ depending on the shape and size of your business, and this is kind of just a generic throw it out there, but loyalty programs. Whether that's something to incentivize a repeat purchase, so rewarding customers for continued support or a length of service in doing business with you, special offers. I've heard of some organizations doing stuff like loyalty points. A percentage or some sort of dollar value of every service ticket gets pulled out, put into some little pot, and when they do, go to procure a new solution through you, there's some sort of discount structure in place. I love a discount, so I mean, it could be difficult to incorporate into your business, but it's only going to provide more power.
Yeah. There's other ways to do loyalty too, like, a happy anniversary of the date that they made the decision to go with your solution or with your organization, just recognizing that you know that.
Yep.
And it's a good opportunity to maybe remind them how low their overhead has been, or that they've not had any outages, or that they haven't needed to use support because the service is so good and stellar. So there's lots of little things, if you get creative, that can be done to build that loyalty. That's not just dollars and points.
That's right. I like that a lot.
Mhm.
And now over to the third pillar, expanding the relationship, or making it sticky. Sticky is a very common term, but if you don't know what I'm referring to, you will after I kind of run through these items. Um, to ensure long-term customer loyalty and resilience against the competitors, it's critical you expand relationship beyond the initial purchase or first sale. So that can come in a couple different ways. One is, of course, like upselling or cross-selling, identifying potential gaps or additional products or services that can complement the initial purchase. Or it can be completely separate of the initial purchase and be a completely separate business unit or another product or division that you have within your business. But by suggesting relevant upsells and cross sales, you can enhance their overall experience as well. So some ideas, I mean, like in our world, hardware, physical phones, those are still a thing. People still need them. Um, Headsets, right? If we're converting a large enterprise that's been very uh, uh, handset driven, and they've made the choice to go to headsets, and soft phone only, that can be a large add-on as well. Audiovisual equipment, so setting up these conference rooms with um, cameras and conference phones and things like that. Obviously, in our world, Microsoft licensing or some sort of managed service wrap, hugely important. So there's a ton. It's endless on that side what you can add. But again, the more kind
I
of
have one
avenues you
favorite
have.
one. I have one favorite one, Eddie, just because I love it so much. So one of our partners, maybe two of our partners, do this where they offer recycling for the outgoing premise equipment. PBXs. I heard of somebody making one into some type of a barbecue pit. That was very, very interesting. But also, there's a lot of different organizations out there that will take those old handsets and they refurbish them and they make their way into, offshore organizations. They make their way into charitable organizations. So rather than just throwing them in the trash, there's places to recycle and upcycle. So that's just one of my favorite ones.
Perfect example.
Mhm.
The second aspect would be proactive communication. It's really all in the title, but staying connected with your customers through as many channels as possible. Keeping them updated on new products, new features, maybe current promotions. Um, Back to kind of the multiple touch points. Engage with them on social media.
Yeah,
Respond to their feedback promptly. We know this is how people are purchasing nowadays, right? When I do it all the time. If I want to purchase a product, I'm typically doing some Google search, or if you want to stay at a hotel, you're checking all the reviews, and of course you're checking all the 5 stars, then you're checking all the 1 stars, and so um, the more the merrier. In a public forum, even better, where it can be searchable by potential prospects or people that want to do business with you. Um, it's just purely the world we live in right now. So again, as many touch points as possible with proactive communication to that existing base.
mm,
The third aspect here, or the third item, would be anticipating your customers' needs. Understand your customers, understand their business and how they generate revenue, potential changes coming up. Uh, that could be acquisitions, that could be formations of net new business units, could be a completely new go-to-market strategy. But with that understanding and proactively addressing potential pain points and providing a tailored solution, you just continue to establish the brand as a consultant and really just drive home that long-term loyalty.
yeah, yeah. You should know what your customers' goals and objectives are, both for their organization as well as for them personally. How are they being measured that particular year? What are their managed business objectives? What are the things that they have a tough time on? If you're dealing with large enterprise companies and managing those accounts, you should be perusing that 10K once a year, looking at the 8Ks throughout the year, because that will give you a lot of information about the business strategy. And it's amazing how a conversation for a new type of customer or even an existing one will change when you walk in and you ask some questions about them and you're making the conversation about them as opposed to the features and functions of your solution.
Absolutely. I know a little trick I used in the past, and I probably should relook at this, but Google Alerts, right? So identifying your key customers, putting Google Alerts, and it'll send you an update. I will say it does get completely out of hand because uh, Google Alerts doesn't kind of merge it all into the best format. So if you're dealing with a really large enterprise, you might get 5,000 of them a day. So I'll put that small little caveat that you might have an absolutely stuffed full inbox if you take this approach, but um, still a good idea.
Hmm. That's great.
Yeah. So really, just to conclude, building long-term customer relationships, maximizing repeat sales, and expanding these relationships are critical for business success.
Okay.
Nurturing loyal customers, or by nurturing loyal customers, we create a strong foundation that withstands any sort of market fluctuation or changing options or competition. So remember, investing in the customer relationships is not only a business strategy, but it's also a commitment to providing exceptional value and creating lasting partnerships.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about some particular customer opportunities. You don't have to name them by name, but maybe by industry, where you took the approach of leveraging what you're already doing with them to sell SIPPIO, and then maybe a different one where you were selling them SIPPIO, but then you had an opportunity to put a wrapper around it when you were a partner.
Right. Yeah. So you mentioned it. I think in the introduction side, it came from a large premium partner, which had many different kind of business entities. So I can think of one right now where it was actually a large municipality, a city, where it actually started with our structured cabling or data team. Right. So I think they were tasked with running a whole bunch of new Cat 6 infrastructure. And through that phase of running all that infrastructure, it was determined that they also needed to convert on the voice side. So that was a perfect handoff, let's say, or validation. Of course, our guys on the data side did an excellent job. Started that relationship building and building that rapport, and it segued into the voice side as well. Which I think actually even segued past the voice side into other aspects of our business and other pieces of our technology. So that was a perfect example of structured cabling to voice, I think, then to security solutions. And then the flip side of that, I can think of one. This was actually a higher education customer, where it was very much voice first. It was actually a public tender. So
Oh,
we were the successful proponent through a public purchasing process. We did an absolute excellent job with the implementation, and that segued into a whole bunch of additional wireless business, so WLAN or wireless infrastructure for their campuses, as well as security, CCTV, card access, kind of head ends and management and all that type of stuff. So those were two perfect examples of pull through, and creating that stickiness in that account, right? Um,
well, the tender you mentioned reminds me of something you said at the very, very beginning of this with the 5x, cost
yeah,
to attract a new customer. RFPs and tenders and competitive bids are really costly and time consuming to win.
they are.
So, being able to, lower your overall customer acquisition costs by making things sticky, which is the number one thing that I got out of today. Because the more that your customers buy, especially if it's in variety, the harder you are to replace. And then leveraging that secret sauce in your support team, your services team, even your billing and invoicing team, really anybody that's touching your customer from whatever facet it is, needs to be smiley, chipper, helpful, resourceful, suggestive, educational, all of that. And sometimes when we're in the throes of getting our own work done, you might forget about what it's like being on the other side. So thank you, Eddie, so much for today. I really appreciate it. You've just been a great recruit and hire for us. So I'm thrilled to death to have you on the SIPPIO team since you're legit, according to some of our prospects. I'm going to go through a series summary of the Thrive series that we're just finishing here. So attract. When we went through this session, we're really talking about how you are gaining awareness in the marketplace so your customers can find you. This week, we're sending out some information to our partners. It's time to look at that website and see if it's fresh and see if you're talking about voice and you're mentioning teams and you're using new vernacular to describe those things. The next session that we did was interact. So once you have their interests and they've come visited you and maybe you've had an initial conversation, think about how strong is your value proposition and what makes you unique in a crowded space. The space is crowded in Teams, it's crowded in Zoom, but it's also crowded across all of UCaaS and traditional telephony. So your value proposition and how you differentiate your services or your solutions that you're offering need to be unique and indigenous to you. Then we talked about transact. So how easy is it for your customers to buy from you? Is it automated or does it require a 60-page VSAL and 5 humans to get it done? Because sometimes that's where you can kind of lose them. If procuring is hard, they're going to start to think that the next piece of activation might be even harder if you can't get simple paperwork or contracts or just have the ability to buy online done. So activate, we talked about last week with step is how quickly can you get your customer up and running? The worst thing to do is to sell the customer something, and then it just sits there with no initiation, and they don't have the service that you've just sold to them. So you need to be fast and agile, and this is really your opportunity to establish yourself as that trusted advisor by having a plan and best practices for them to follow. You're doing this every week, every month, many times a year. They're doing this once every 5 to 10 to 15 years, depending on what it is that they're bringing in, what the new technology is. So you are definitely going to be able to save them a lot of time and headaches if you're guiding them. So don't assume that they know the processes, don't assume that they're great at it. And you might have to do some gentle nudging and some education, but you really need to be that Sherpa for them. And then the last one that we just talked about with Eddie is attach, making these customers sticky, selling them different offers and solutions so you make yourself harder to move away from. I thank you for participating in this series. At SIPPIO, we are all about making our partners and carriers successful. And we spend a lot of time working on things to help you um, and enable you for that success. One of the things that I want to make sure you're aware of is we have a huge marketing hub and a lot of assistance that's available for you. So there's things in this marketing hub. All you need is a name, an email, and a title and a company name. It's not a big scrape of personal information to get in there, but we help you with target marketing. We give you advice on your website. We give you advice on your search engine optimization. We supply you tweets, email scripts, customer PowerPoints, white papers, drip campaigns. I mean, like you name it from a marketing perspective, we've created it for you and done the heavy lifting around it. We've modernized it. So we're talking about today's world of collaboration and enabling the voice features and all these documents and collateral assets are ready for you to just drop your logo into. So you don't even have to spend a lot of time customizing it, but you're also welcome to use the pieces and parts that best fit your business and utilize those in a way that has your look and feel and your own perspective and slant on your own value proposition. So go to the hub, take a look at it, and if there's things in there that you'd like to see, let us know over the summer as we're running our 100 Days of Summer campaign. We'll be dropping new materials in there every 2 weeks to support you as you're looking at your journey and you're going back through the pillars from this series and you're really getting ready to boost up your pipeline and your opportunity generation. So myself and the entire team, we're here at your disposal because We work for you. Have a great day, and thanks for joining us. And if you are celebrating any holidays next week, congratulations. Be safe, be healthy, and we'll see you soon. Bye.